guys, this is Danielle, and I want to welcome you to the Full Out Cheer podcast. I've got a great episode for you today where I'm going to be talking all about fall marketing and how to make sure that you are fully prepared in your gym to take advantage of all the great opportunities to get more kids in the gym this fall. So if you guys have never joined me here before, I want to welcome you. The Full Out Cheer podcast is produced by Next Generation Gym Owners, and this is our platform to help gym owners so that you are growing in your gyms and building the programs of your dreams. I want to thank you for joining us on this podcast. If you haven't been here in a little while, we just rebranded recently, and so I do have an upcoming episode coming up in a couple weeks about rebranding and how to do that in your gym. In the meantime, if you are a gym owner, make sure you head over to our Facebook group and join it. It is called Cheer Gym Owners. If you are a gym owner who loves to coach or an all-star cheerleading coach, head over to Cheer Gym Owners and Coaches on Facebook and make sure that you get plugged in. We've got tons of great content in there. Free content. We've got posts every time a new episode comes out of the Full Out Cheer podcast, as well as posts for Cheer Biz podcast. We've got some blogs, we've got packets that come out, and all of that content is free. And so you can learn as a gym owner so easily if you just take advantage of all the great free things that we offer in those groups. Additionally, we have some really great events coming up, and I want to make sure that you guys are plugged in and you know all about the Cheer Biz Accelerator. So the Cheer Biz Accelerator is your opportunity to come to one of our gyms, do a deep dive into your business, while you also get to tour and view daily operations of the things that are happening behind the scenes and in the front of house at our gyms. So make sure you head over to cheerbizaccelerator.com, learn a little bit more, and then book a call and we can give you more info and see if that might be a good fit for you. Okay, so I want to get into fall marketing because even though you have marketing that you should be doing, honestly, 12 months a year, fall is kind of a tricky time because if you're like my gym, we see a back to school push. And it was kind of funny. Last week, I thought maybe we weren't going to see that back to school push because last year it just seemed to be a little bit slower than I was used to. And then I went in the gym and found out 12 tours had been booked of the gym for the week where we do a private assessment and make sure we're getting kiddos in the right classes. It was exciting to see that. But I think when you have that natural influx, a lot of times you forget that you still need to be marketing. And even if you're one of those people who is doing consistent marketing, there may be times that you feel like you need to hold your horses a little bit. I can only take so many kids in my gym based on constraints of staff or facility or scheduling. And so you have to really put some thought into the things that you're marketing so that you're not putting the cart before the horse, right? It's great if we could get 100 new kids this month, but if you could, would you have the staffing and the space in the schedule and the space in your facility for that many kids? So let's talk for a moment here about what you should do when that back to school time starts arriving. Okay, so in my gym, back to school starts really early. And I know that that happens for a lot of gyms in the South and kind of the southern half of the Midwest. And so we go back to school so early that a lot of times that fall marketing needs to start happening. And I don't mean back to school marketing because I talked about that a little bit on the last episode, but I mean for all the other things that happen in the fall. A lot of times that needs to start happening while you're still seeing these back to school enrollments. So ideally, you're going to start that fall marketing kind of when back to school rush dies down. So for me, that tends to happen early September, maybe even the middle of September. Once we start seeing that we don't have 10 plus tours booked for the week, we start looking at that fall marketing push. However, if you haven't planned for it leading up to that, it's really hard to just execute immediately. It's something that can take an enormous amount of your time at a really busy time of the season, especially if you saw a big back to school enrollment. Maybe you had 30 or 40 or way more new kids in the gym. Now you're working on providing a great service for them, retaining them. You probably have some new staffing challenges, new systems challenges, stuff like that. The last thing you want to do is then be like, oh my gosh, now I have to develop all this marketing to make sure that the rest of our fall goes smoothly. So, what I'm going to encourage you to do is start preparing those things now. Most of us have lots of things that happen in the fall, as far as like we host a huge trunk or treat. Our half year teams are like amping up because they begin in November. We have an after school program. And then I'm also hosting events throughout the fall. So we might do a Nerf night or a ninja night or a cheer camp or something like that for those kids on a Saturday morning. So let's get into how to take that back to school momentum that you probably are going to find naturally, but then maintain that momentum through September, October, November. Okay, so once all the excitement of back to school wears off, you really want to think about what kind of events can you be hosting in the fall that will get kids in the door. So the first thing I'm going to bring up is bring a friend can be really wonderful if you still have space in your classes. If you find that you have one opening in this class and no openings in this class, and you don't have any introductory teams to register for, and maybe you run on a month-to-month basis and you are super full, then I'm going to tell you back to school is probably not the time to be doing bring a friend campaigns. Okay, it's great to do those when you've got a little bit of capacity, but when you are at max capacity, it's really hard to do that. You might have to gear bring a friend more toward a particular program that has more space, or you want to utilize the other things in the gym to continue growing revenue. So a lot of people might be at max capacity for classes, but you are only booking one birthday party in a weekend. And so your marketing strategy is going to change based off of that enrollment and based off of the things that you need in the gym. So it's important to pay attention to numbers at that time of year. Other things you want to look at. So look at this time last year. Did your preschool classes fill up super easily in the fall? Were your ninja classes full? You can assume that if all things are equal, if your marketing is pretty much the same, that you're going to experience those things again moving forward. So for me, ninja's a little bit slower in the fall, right? We've got fall football that's happening. There's other sports that kids are engaged in. There's after school activities. And so ninja is actually one of my lower enrollment items for the fall. And not that it's like low enrollment, but like I have 3 or 4 openings in this class and 4 or 5 in this class. And so it's a little bit easier to do something like bring a friend. So maybe you want to do a bring a friend campaign, but you're going to specifically market it toward that program. Also, you can do things like Ninja Night. So that would be like a one-time event that's a 2-hour event, and you can do like American Ninja Warrior style. You can do ninja races, you can do ninja games, you can do all kinds of stuff like that. But we're going to pick events that are going to directly lead into hopeful enrollments. The last thing you want to do is host a tumbling clinic that is designed for people who are not part of your gym if you are completely full in tumbling, right? And I know that I'm going to tell you that you have to plan a little bit in advance. So because of that, you're going to have to look at what were the previous trends. This time last year, were your preschool classes maxed? If not, look at a preschool camp that you can do at the end of September, beginning of October. A lot of times preschoolers, like they don't get enrolled in things quite as quickly as the school age kids when it comes to this time of the year, because they're still used to having the sibling at home, like they're not quite as antsy yet and stuff like that. And so really think about like, what can you do that will then bring those kids in who are going to be great prospects for the programs you're trying to fill. It's really hard when I talk to people and they're like, we're doing a Taylor Swift camp. And I'm like, awesome. How are your tumbling classes right now? And they're like, oh, they're so full. Like, okay, what team could they register for? Like, oh, we're not taking team enrollments right now. Like, oh, okay. So all of these things are really great, but like we're now getting those kids in the door. And if they want to enroll, like we don't really have anywhere to put them. It's important that you're really like thinking through the strategy when you're designing those events. And I'm here to tell you, if like you're hosting a ninja night and your ninja is full, like now is the perfect time to figure out, can you move ninja kids up? Do you have forecasted disenrollments that you're going to have, at the end of the month? Like start thinking through those things right now, because sometimes we put out something like Ninja Night 8 weeks in advance. And then by the time it rolls around, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so full right now. And so, that then it makes the strategy a little bit harder. And you really have to think through, like, how can I've just spent the money to get these kids in the door and I'm going to make money off of this, but how do I then keep them in the door on a weekly basis? Other things you guys can be thinking about. If you wanted to do something for trick or treat, we have these little cards and you can put a piece of candy on it and it has information about our new member special in the gym. Those are super easy and you can order them right off Vistaprint, put a QR code on them. I think business cards are like $15 or $20. We even have parents who will take them so that when they're doing Halloween activities with their friends and classes, they can like attach a piece of candy to it, or they'll hand them out with the candy at their house that night. And so all of those are great, but if something is going to cost me $15 or $20 and I didn't plan ahead, then I'm probably going to pay $15 or $20 plus a $20 rushing ship fee, plus it's going to stress me out. So like think about all those things right now. Just spend 10 minutes and walk through like each of your months and what you know your marketing strategy is going to be so that you can plan ahead. Other things that can do well this time of year are parents' night outs. I just talked to an Academy member this morning and this person said, man, my parents' night outs always sell out, but like I have one coming up next Friday and it is just not full. I'm like, oh, sometimes the time of the year is the hardest thing because it's the last week of summer. People are wanting to enjoy their last lake weekend, last time that they can do sleepovers and stuff like that. And so that can be a hard time to run a parents' night out. And so these are all the things that you want to think about when you're scheduling those fall events. Are you going to conflict with Friday Night Lights? Because around here, it would be really hard to run anything for middle schoolers or high schoolers on a Friday night in the fall. So the hard truth about all this is if you are waiting until October to promote an October event, you're already pretty behind the curve. You want to make sure that you start promoting these events about 6 to 8 weeks out. So for me, as soon as we have the information, we're pretty much putting that on our website and opening enrollment, even if we're not marketing it yet. And the reason is because if somebody is going to my website and let's say they're going to enroll for something, a camp that I have 2 weeks from now, well, maybe they scroll through and they see another event that's scheduled for 2 months from now. And they're already thinking like, oh, maybe I should just enroll for both at the same time. So that's called cross-selling or cross-promoting. And you have so many opportunities to do it. But as soon as you lock in the date, the time, and yes, we can get it staffed, get that marketing. It's so easy to go to ChatGPT, have it give it the event details, have it create a description, and then go get it on your site. If you're a client of Cheer Gym Marketing, you know exactly how easy it is to get those upcoming events on your site because it's simply a form you fill out and it populates on your site right away. You don't have to wait for a ticket to be created. You don't have to wait for any of those things. It's just that easy. So make sure you're getting those events on your site as quickly as possible. That doesn't mean you have to flood the marketing with something now that is going to be happening in November or December. It just means it's out there on the site and 6 weeks out, you kind of start the marketing, heavier push 4 weeks out, really heavy push 3 and 2 weeks out if it's still not full. And then a lot of times what you're going to find is a week or 2 out, it is full. And now your marketing strategy doesn't stop. It just changes. Now it changes to sold out, right? And you're not going to utilize that sold out on a ton of marketing posts, but you're probably going to put it on 1 or 2 so that people can see that an event has sold out. There's a demand. Make sure you register for our events early. I'm here to tell you, if you never have events that sell out, then one of 2 things is happening. 1, you don't really have a goal. You're just kind of aiming for the stars, right? And I think it's necessary to have a goal when you're talking about marketing because you need to know, was I successful in this marketing campaign that I ran? If I have a ninja night coming up or a tumbling camp or a cheer camp or whatever you're going to host, if you have it coming up and you never set a goal, you might hit 20 athletes and you're like, oh yeah, that was cool. Good. That was good. But if your goal was 25, you're going to recognize a week or 2 out that you're at 20 and you're going to be like, okay, let's push to get the last 5. Let's meet our goal. There is a level of satisfaction that you feel in your brain. And for me in my heart, I feel that level of satisfaction when we've met our goal. Your staff needs to see that goal. If your staff is just yeah, we can take as many kids as we get and we'll just continue adding staff to it. They may not feel that push to let's get 5 more kids because they don't know your goal was 25. At the same time, you might get to 26, and because you never had a goal set, you're like, oh, that was pretty good. But, there's not that like dopamine hit that honestly you should be getting because you set a goal, you know what it was, and now you're achieving it. That said, I taught all of this has actually been taught in classes at conference. So you guys are getting you should be getting an ROI on this podcast. Okay. Another part of that is let's say you're running an event and you can take one coach for every 8 kids. You have to staff one coach for every 8 kids. Well, 16 kids is profitable. 17, your profit margin just dropped because now you need to staff 3 coaches at 17 kids, which takes you just below a 1-to-6 ratio. Setting that goal is vital for making sure that the profitability that you're building into your budgeting and your pricing actually makes sense and it actually works. Let's say I'm running something like a paint and tumble or art and tumble. That's one of the things that we have a packet for in the Next Gen Academy. Well, all of that's great. But if you can only buy canvases in a package of 12 and you get 13 kids, now your profitability just decreased because you probably need a second staff member there and you have to buy a whole second set of art canvases. So we have to look at those things when we're talking about the profitability of these events and developing our goals. And it all leads back to the logistics. Here's what the budget says. Here's my goal for the event. Here's the marketing that is going to lead up to that event that matches the goals. And you want to be looking at, if my goal is 25 kids for an event, 6 weeks out, where are we? Maybe 0. That's okay. 4 weeks out, maybe we have 5 kids. Okay, we need to push the marketing a little bit harder. 3 weeks out, maybe we have 15 kids. Cool, whatever we did last week worked. Let's do it again, right? And so you need to just evaluate those. And if you're feeling when would I ever have the time to do stuff like this? Honestly, it takes about 5 or 10 minutes a week to pull those numbers, track them, and just think back, what did I do in marketing last week and did it work? Do I need to push more? Do I need to do it better? Or did what I marketed, did that work? And now I just need to do it again. Not every result has to be different. If you guys are running these events and you're selling out a whole bunch of your events, you don't need to change your marketing. You just need to maybe do more of it, or you need to do exactly what you already did. Don't go after those shiny objects if what you're doing is working. Now, that said, if what you're doing is not working, there's a couple ways to solve that. Let's say that you are going to run half your team starting in November. So strategically, you want, and this is a big hint for you, you want to be running a cheer camp, maybe the end of September or somewhere between the end of September to the middle of October. We're going to run that on a Saturday morning so that we can get a whole bunch of leads in the door who are interested in cheer. They have a great time at this camp. And now the next thing they can do is sign up for a half-year novice team that begins in about 2 weeks. So if that were to be my goal, then I need to look at it and I need to start marketing for those things now. If I'm doing a good job marketing, you're going to have to just look at what do I do to make sure that I fill that? Do I do more marketing of that particular thing? Or am I already doing one post a day on each of the platforms and it's just not selling? Well, then I need to look at doing it better. So do more of what you're already doing. And if that doesn't work, then reevaluate your marketing and just do it better. Once you've done it better, go through that cycle again. Okay, I'm doing it better. I got 2 new kids this week for it. Now do more of that. Do more of what's working and less of what's not working. So there's kind of a balance here. What did Dan say? The whole week he was here at my gym this week, he's 6'7". I actually have no idea what that means. But every time I do this motion now, I with my hands up and down, if you're listening on podcast, I think 6'7", because that's what he did all week. It was super weird. And he wore a tank top all week. Guys, I can't. I just can't. So if you're looking at okay, my marketing now has become sell, 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 sell. You're going to have to find the balance, because if all your marketing does is sell to people, you're going to lose the engagement that builds the algorithm that actually shows your marketing to people. That said, I've seen a couple of gyms that go the exact opposite direction. They're I don't want to bug people. I want to engage with them. I want to have good followers. I want to show what we're doing in the gym, but I'm not here to just constantly sell. All of that's great, but then where is the ROI on your social media? Nobody makes money by simply engaging. You have to be able to pay for the time investment that you're making into the marketing. You have to find the balance of like great engaging posts and selling, because ultimately, if you don't have a call to action on things, you're not going to see the ROI that you're going to be looking for. Like, you have to have that ROI to make it truly worth it. So you can find the happy medium here, and you're going to have to be able to do that by a smart content strategy and getting creative. Maybe you're going to do behind the scenes of an event. Like when we hosted our showcase a couple years ago, I set up a time lapse. We put in the entire cheer floor. We put up the backdrop. We put in the DJ table. We set up all this stuff. We set up our warm-up floors. The whole time I was running a time lapse video. So now I can use that as engagement. You know, we're 30 days out from our showcase. It is open to the public. Look at all the work that goes in behind the scenes of the Warrensburg Cheer and Dance Showcase. So now I can use that content. Maybe you're going to go live and you're going to say, hey guys, I just want to show you what our cheer classes are working on right now. We have an upcoming session. It begins in 2 weeks. Want to make sure you guys know the information, get registered, blah, blah, blah. User-generated content also can go really far. So maybe you are hosting a trunk or treat, and a couple days before, you're going to do a costume contest where people can submit their costumes to you and they get a gift card somewhere, or they get a free month of tuition or something like that. But you want to make sure it's user-generated content. So they're going to post it to their socials and they're going to tag you in it. Also, that kind of plays it safe because then you know that you're okay to share it because you got tagged in it. You're going to have to build some serious consistency with your marketing this summer. You're going to have to put some strategy into it. If you guys are busy, my gosh, I get it. Like, I spent the last week with Dan Cotton from the Cheer Biz podcast. He was here at my gym working with my teams, finishing up some pyramids that we had done at choreography and just doing some general cleanup with transitions and stuff like that. And we spent the week honestly talking about like, here's what's going on in my gym. Tons and tons of stuff. We work together in Next Gen all the time. All the stuff going on in Next Gen. He heard all about the rentals that Justin and I have and that separate business. He heard about all the details from Cheer Gym marketing and that business. But guys, if I'm able to do all of that and still make time to do the marketing and focus on like, let me do a marketing audit. And like, I don't do it alone. I have people who are doing a vast majority of the marketing, but like, it hasn't always been that way in my gym. I haven't always had full-time staff. Like the first 6 months of my gym, like I had a full-time job. I had 4 kids and I was still having to do the marketing and the payroll and coach classes and coach teams and work front desk. Like I was, you know, in that position. And a lot of times I'm still in those positions today. So it's like we make time for the things that matter most to us. So if it matters to you to get new kids in the gym, grow your revenue, I'm here to tell you, you're not selfish for wanting to grow your revenue. In fact, because of inflation, you absolutely have to. If you're making the same amount of money this year that you made this month last year, you're actually losing money because things cost more now than they did in the past. And how can you ever expect to give your staff a raise well above minimum wage if you're not making more money than you were this time last year? Like, minimum wage increases, but even if our staff is making well above minimum wage, which I will tell you, and for like the parents listening to this, like most gyms, their staff is making well above minimum wage. But every time minimum wage increases, you really should be like, okay, I've got to reevaluate my staff who are making $5 or $10 over minimum wage. Like, how can I now make sure that if this is what minimum wage is, they stayed in relation to that? So as you guys think about all this, it all plays in together, and making sure that your marketing is planning for the future and making sure you're planning for the future is how you get ahead as a gym. So guys, thank you for joining me on this episode. If there is anything we can help you do to grow your marketing, we've got some amazing stuff out there, such as our Connect 3. We've got some great marketing packets that they're event packets that have like marketing sections in them. But most importantly, all of our coaches in the Next Gen Academy can teach you so much about marketing, from running Facebook ads to what your website should look like to how to develop that marketing strategy long-term so that you're seeing a solid ROI on the things that you're doing. So guys, if any of that stuff is something we can help you with, definitely reach out to me. I am all over Facebook and sometimes on Instagram, and I would love to chat with you guys more about that. Okay, so with that, thank you for listening to this episode of the Full Out Cheer podcast, and I will see you guys next week on the next episode.